This here, we're going to walk out some latter day thoughts. So, right. So these latter days are end time or last days. It's going to be based off of some patterns, right? So we've already been going over some things that's happening in the garden. It comes out the garden. We say that it keeps going. So here, what I would like to do is I'd like to focus on, before I start going into the next books, kind of set up an eschatology type format, okay? So towards the end of it, you're going to see, we're going to do text comparison, right? And for those that, don't use, let's say, Dead Sea Scrolls or Targums, you're going to see some of those things, but it does agree with the scriptures. And I got some questions. I'm hoping you guys got the answer. All right, I remind everybody of the rules. All right, so please keep your mic muted except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There is a feature in the room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic. You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you, okay? Reason, these rules are due to the time and the recordings of the lessons. These are live recordings, so we must give the Moreh enough time to complete the lesson. All right, so if something's not clear, by all means, ask away, and we'll go from there. All right, so just a real fast recap of what we talked about a week ago, restoration of Eden. The beginning of restoration from sin often is portrayed later as a restoration of Eden and a beginning of a new creation, which also becomes an eschatological notion. So we're going to see how that works. So if you guys remember, we went over Isaiah 65, where it talks about, for behold, I create a new heaven and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. Then we couple that with 66, where it says, for as the new heaven and the new earth will I will make shall remain before me, saith Yahuah, so shall your seed and your name remain. We went to Revelations, where it says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So we already went over those things. So now we're going to go forward from there. But there was a new heaven and a new earth made at the beginning of Bereshit or Genesis, where the Ruach, or the Spirit, it says it hovered or moved, the Hebrew is merachefet. So will the end be like. So Yahuah is escalating the conditions and blessings of the pre-fall state into a permanent, indestructible creation. So this last new heaven and new earth that's going to take place, that's going to be it, right? Is everyone with me so far? So you've seen cycles over and over again, and so it's going to come to an end. All right, so latter days. Anyone want to pronounce that in the Hebrew there? This is awesome. Huh? Okay. Okay. Bakrit Hayamim. So keep that in mind. So the actual plural form of latter days may refer to some degree to an extended eschatological period composed of several events. In other words, it's plural, so it's not singular. So that must mean there's a lot that's adding up to these latter days, all right? We can see this by cyclical patterns throughout the scriptures. We can compare this understanding to other texts, which we're going to do today, that has latter day in the singular. So for an example, Job 19:25, he says, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the ladder. And what's the Hebrew word for ladder there? The acharon. Remember, this is singular. The acharon. Good. The acharon upon the earth. 46:10 says, declaring the end, acharit, from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, says, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So the singulars in or last refers more to a definite in here, versus when you see it in the plural, that means there's cycles. So we're going to go over, or not cycles, but it's leading up to something. It's getting like a Jacob's trouble. It gets the birth pains get stronger and stronger. So we're going to see how that works. All right. First occurrence is better sheet of Genesis 49:1. Okay, everyone's familiar with 49:1, what 49:1 is about, or specifically chapter 49. Everyone understands what 49 is about. This is where Yahuah Jacob gives, right. He's going to tell the 12 tribes what they're going to go through in the latter days, right? Not so much what they physically going to mean the individual sons, but their descendants. Okay, all right. So Bereshit or Genesis 49:1 says, and Yahuah Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you what which shall befall you in the last days. Berakarit hayamim. Okay, he's gonna let them know what this is. A contextual sense of what latter day means. I gave you 3. Number 1 is Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve. Before their sin, were part of an original sinless creation in Eden that was designed to end in a consummate, eternal, and esteemed state that was a new creation. So everyone knows that he created the heavens and the earth. He got the garden. Then he tells them, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't want them to sin. That was supposed to be the creation, right? Right. So it's supposed to it's supposed to keep going the way he wanted to go. Of course, we went over, he gave them the power of choice, right? All right. So because that didn't happen, we go to part 2. So now Noah was a second Adam emerging out of the chaotic flood, who was given the same commission as the first Adam or Adam in the beginning, renewed creation that was designed to end in a consummating, eternal, and esteemed condition of that new creation, right? But something happened, right? All right. So when's the next time you hear about some waters? Yeah. Israel, right? Israel was designed to be like a corporate Adam, emerging out of the plague chaos in Mitzrayim, and in the beginning of a new creation from the Exodus, meaning when they went through that water, they became a nation, and they were going to be, not doing any sin. They will get the laws. It's supposed to be a nation of priests, and all these things are supposed to happen, right? So take residence again in another Gan or Eden, meaning the promised land, and obeying the mandate that the first Adam should have obeyed, and finally achieving complete eternal rest in an esteemed new creation. Did that happen?
No.
All right. So there remains this new creation. That's why what we read earlier from last week is there's always going to be a new creation, but this last one he's going to do, that is it. So when you read about Yirmiyahu next week, 31, he's going to put his spirit in us and cause us to do certain things. So I won't spoil that till we talk about that next week. All right. So 49:1, each tribe's prophecy. Now, we're not going to go over all 12 tribes' prophecy. No. So each tribe has a latter day ending or endings. We will look at some of them briefly to show how to spot some of their patterns in scripture. So you're going to see maybe 3. We're going to do 3 today. And then towards the end, remember I said we're going to do text comparison. This is going to help you as you study how to study the scriptures, all right? So we're going to see how that works. So I decided to kind of color code it, all right? So these color coding up to the end, the last slide with the color codes, which I'll get to, is just to highlight some things. But right now, I'm just color coding so you can see what goes with what, all right? So Genesis, or better sheet 49:8 says, Yehuda, you are he whom your brethren shall praise. Your hand shall be in the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Verse 11, binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Now we're going to see that obviously in another place, but I'm not going to go over that where it's at in Revelations yet, because we haven't gotten there, so to speak, to really go over this. Now, verse 49:12, do have a question here. It says, his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. So is this being here going to be drinking milk? He ain't gonna have no cow milk. What does this mean? And his teeth white like milk. Mhm. White with milk. What does it mean in his teeth white with milk? What does that mean? I mean, it's anyone?
Is it a metaphor or something?
Could be.
Teaching, like babes want the sincere milk, if you will.
Okay. Good try. Hallelujah. Anyone else want to take a stab at that?
That
Okay.
he has very white teeth.
Okay. So he used some Colgate and he's good to go. Anyone else? All right. So there's something there. So the scriptures doesn't define what this means, right? All right. So just remember this here. You can write it down and then you're going to see it again somewhere else. All right. Keep that in mind. All right. Isaiah 63:1 says, who is this that comes from where? Me'adom. With dyed garments. And it says what? Mibosra. Now, my question to you guys, if those are in the Hebrew class, I wanted you to see these two because you can notice the mem with the sere, and then you see the mem with the kurik, with the dot. Why one with the sere and why with one with the dot? The aleph, the guttural, and then this one without it, right? Right. So you guys can see that it's in the scriptures like this. Okay. All right. So zeh means this, right? This is honor in his apparel, traveling in the generations of his strength, or greatness of his strength. He says, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore are you red in your apparel, and your garments like him that treads in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. Now, notice when we talk in the future, I put everything in the purple for the red and the blood of the grapes and things like that. So there's a prophecy of an end time where this is going to take place, right? Everyone's familiar with that, right? And then it's repeated again here. So if it's repeated, if it's in Genesis, and over here where he specifically says that who's going to do this, he says on verse 8, it says, brother shall praise your hand and shall be in the necks of your enemy. Who is that? Yahuda. Yehuda, right? So remember, this is a prophecy about the tribe of Yehuda. Okay, so then you read Isaiah and it's talking about the same thing, but now it's talking about who? No, it says, and the people, there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury. Who is this?
Yahuah.
Okay, so when he's reading this at this time, he's saying this is Yahuah, right? Yahuah Sibaot, right? Now, but over in the prophecy in verse 8, it's Yehuda. How did it jump to Yahuah Sibaot? How did it do that?
Because he's coming from the tribe of Yehuda.
Okay, so we're going to see as I get a little clearer in just a minute that it's saying Yehuda, but then there's a prophecy about somebody in the tribe of Yehuda that's going to be acting on behalf of Yahuah, right? So that means there's a transfer of his name from the tribe, just like Yehuda, right? If I say Yehuda, how many of you guys are Yehuda? Okay. Well, so even though that they say, hey, I have no problem with, I'm not going off no 12 tribes chart, but here's my thing, is if you think about it, the promise was with Yehuda as well, right? Or Israel as a whole. And then those that are from the tribe of Yehuda, you're not technically Yehuda, right? You're of that tribe. So you're carrying his name as you go. Does everyone see this? Because it's going to be very important. We start talking about David. Oh my gosh, see, that's not who them, but I'll stop there. All right. We'll keep going. We'll see it in just a minute. That's why I said I'll stop there. All right. So the ESV version here says, Yehuda is a lion's cub from the prey. My son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He did what? He crouched. Say what? Okay. You can say it in the classical Hebrew, ravetz, or they may say in Yemenite, rabetz. Okay. As a lion and as a lioness, who dares rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. All right. So we know that there's a prophecy about a scepter. Keep that in mind. There's the lawgiver going to come from between his feet until Shiloh comes. Now keep that part in mind. All right. So this will be explored a little deeper later in the series, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of it now. So we'll do that. So Yehuda is prophesied to be a victor over all his enemies. And you find that in verses 8 and 11 through 12, which we'll read in a minute, and to be the leading tribe in Israel. Everyone believes that Yehuda is the leading tribe. Okay. So, but later we know, the leading tribe of Israel. Yehuda is the leading tribe of Israel, right? All right. So he will be mighty as a lion, right? We see in verse 9. And he will rule until all nations becomes obedient to him. Who is him?
Yahusha.
Okay. So until Shiloh comes, right? Everyone agrees. All right. So of course we now can say Yahusha. We're all saying, as I'm saying, is at this time, who were they thinking of? Right. They were thinking that there's a Messiah to come, right? A prophet that's going to come out of Yehuda. That's what they do know, right? Okay. All right. Bereshit Genesis 4:7 says, if you do well. Now, this is where we at now. This is dealing with Cain and Abel. They just got kicked out of the garden, right? All right. So it says, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin is crouching, rovettes at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. So I wonder how in Genesis 49 talks about Yehuda being crouched, and then over here in Genesis 4:7, how did they come together? How do we put those together? He's coming with you. He'll be with you in a minute. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So at the top where it says Ravets, he crouched. It's like he's ready to spring up and take action. You know,
right? He stooped down, like, you know how he's about to pounce, right?
Ready to take action. Okay. And sin is in the same similar position, ready to take action over us as well. Right.
So you see that if you know how this is going to happen in the end time, guess who got to take hold of that sin when it's ready to do that in you? Because he's using you to be a light to everybody else. But you're going to have to be able to rule over sin. You're going to have to be able to do that. All right. All right. So the phrase in Genesis 4:7 contextually applied to Cain and his defeat by evil. So he didn't make it. So what happens when he didn't make it? What happened to him? Now become a vagabond, a wanderer. He's not a part. No difference in any one of us. If we cannot overcome sin, what's the outcome of that?
You're cut off from your people.
Okay. So sin is crouching at the door, and it desires for you, but you must rule over it. Appears to be it reapplied in 49:9 with Yehuda. You go down, and he crouches, he lies down, or ravats as a lion. Okay, but we're going to see more of this. So I just want to keep this in mind because we're going to come back to this when we start doing text comparison. All right, the name of Yahuah is on his people or beings, right? And may I say that because if you know some of the beings that carry the Father's name, you know the Malach or the messenger that carried Yahuah's name. Everyone's familiar with this, right? All right. So that name transfers unto the person or the being. From there, it is transferred unto the nation. So it says Israel. He was talking about individually, he called one person Israel, then collectively all become Israel. All right. So I said, consider Yehuda or Israel or even David, because the problem is when they say David's coming back, then it's, how's that different from saying Israel's coming back? Yehuda's coming back, right? So somehow, mind you, all of them got covenants, every last one of them. So then it says, it is talking about the original person or the covenant behind the name, right? So the promise is in the name. Who is doing it? Who is doing the work? Right? He's behind it, right? So if someone says, I'm coming in his name, right? So if you're coming in his name, blessed, he's coming in the name of Yahuah. So when he comes in that name, is he saying he's Yahuah? All right. Okay. He's right. So he's coming in that authority. No difference than someone saying the same thing for Yehuda, for David, for Israel. I hope everyone's understanding how this works. All right. So we'll see that later on if they don't. All right. So next tribe is good old Dan. How many is familiar with Dan? How many of y'all are from the tribe of Dan? Oh. They let no, that's not my area. All right. All right. Dan shall be a serpent in the way of a viper by the path that bites the horse's heel, so that his rider falls backwards. Okay, so I said, wait for your salvation, O Yahuwah, right? Now, has this happened in scripture? Right. So let's read about what Dan has done, right? And then see if we can put that together. Yeah, no one to put their hand up for Dan. All right. No, absolutely not. Right now, there's not. but I'm gonna tell you, when we start reading, if you find yourself doing something, you might be a Danite. All right. I'm just messing with you. All right. So, Shoftim or Judges 18:11 says, and there went from thence a family of Hadani or the Danites out of Sar-O. Now, I was going to share why it says O, but anyway. And out of where? Eshtaol, huh? The reason why this is O because it closes, the hey closes that syllable versus it being an open syllable. If it's an open syllable like yada, it's still open. If it's closed, it turns into the O sound. Okay. And then obviously, other than that, you have a, if you see a maquette there, then. So that's not a Kemetz. Right. Correct. Well, it's a Kemetz Ketuf. All right. Says 600 men appointed with weapons of war. Verse 14 says, then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish and said unto their brethren, do you know that there is in these houses an ephod and what's that say? So normally we'll say teraphim, right? But now that we know that the shva is a reduced sound, it's trophim, all right? So anyway, and a trophim and a graven image and a molten image. Now, therefore, consider what you have to do. And they turned to the word and came to the house of the young man, Halevi or a Levite, even unto the house of Michal. Okay, so Michal, and saluted him. Hey, brother, how you doing? Hey, priest. These went into Michal's house and fetched the carved image, the ephod, and the trophim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them, what do you? Now, this is inside of a Levite's house. He got all these things in here. Dan's over there talking with him because Dan's about to ask him something, right? Everyone see what's happening over here with the okay, good. So Trophim, I'm not going to really go into a lot, but this is some of the things that they have found archaeologically. So etymological connection between Trophim and this is the Hittite Loim, which is the Hittites. They have a lot that they talk about in it. The Hebrew text doesn't really give you a bunch of information. All the other nations, surrounding nations do. This is how they get the definition of what this word means. So anyway, it denotes a spirit which can on some occasions be regarded as a protective and others as a malevolent spirit. What is a malevolent spirit? Right, it's a malicious spirit. Okay. In the lexical list, trapish is often represented by the akdogram, which is a sha'idu, protective spirit, and meaning that they could in many respects be associated with the Hebrew Trophim. They are household gods, right? You remember about Rachel, right? They also deal with the dead, like dead ancestors, basically gods of the dead that protects and heals, okay? In the Ugaritic text, whereas the Raphim, ancestral spirits, are mentioned in plural with the Elim, which is the divine beings, the Elim, which is called gods, and you can think about that in 1 Samuel 28:13, what they're called Elohims or Elims there, and in Isaiah 8:19. In the Akkadian, furthermore, that determines the Dingri god appears in the combination with a Giddim, a spirit of the deceased or a shade. Okay. All right. So anyway, this was happening all around. So when Israel's coming and want to be like the nations, notice what they're doing. They're taking on these ways. All right. So there's a lot more to it, but I decided to leave all that stuff out. Verse 19. And they said unto him, hold your peace, lay your hand upon your mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. I want that to sound like the Catholics. Okay. Anyway. It is better for you to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that you be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel, Israel. Okay, so they want this Levite priest, Micha, to be their father and their priest, right? Come with us. And what else do they want? They want their Trophim too. Come on, bring all that with us. This is Dan. Verse 20 says, and the priest's heart was glad. What? He said, and he took the ephod and the Trophim and the graven image and went in the midst of the people. What people? Dan, right? Dan is ready to rock and roll. All right, 22. And when they were a good way from the house of Micha, the men that were in the houses near to Micha's house were gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. Okay, so now here comes Israel. Wait a minute, what's happening?
All in your business.
He said, and they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said unto Micha, what ails you that you come with such a company? And he said, you have taken away my Elohim, which I made, and the priests, and you are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that you say unto me? What ails you? In other words, he done found his Elohim. You trying to figure out what's my problem? Like, what's your problem? Right? So there's a huge problem here. Now, mind you, we'll see later on about Dan, but I'll tell you a little bit in advance, though, is Dan winds up, if you're not careful, Dan winds up having them to stumble, right? All right, so we'll see that in a minute. 29, it says, and they called the name of the city Dan, and the name of Dan, their father, who was born unto Israel, howbeit the name of the city was Laish at first, which means lion. Okay, and the children of Dan set up the graven image, and y'all ready for your Hebrew? Yehonatan ben Gershom, okay? The Ben Mansh. Oh, okay, can you see it? Menashe. He said, sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. And they set them up, Micha's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of Elohim was where? Bishilo. Shiloh, right? Shiloh, in Shiloh. That means in, right? In Shiloh. You guys are All right. So now you remember the scepter would not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between the field until Shiloh comes, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. All right. The tribe of Dan did some very wicked things. Their redemption will come from their brother, the tribe of Yehuda. The other 11 tribes will find their final end time success bound up with Yehuda. The initial reference to the latter days refers to all tribes, and all prophecy events of Genesis 49 would roughly fit the pattern of Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 3. Okay, but we're not going to go through all of those. We're going to go over maybe one more. All right. So think about this next tribe. You guys already know it, which is the tribe of Yosef or Yosef. How do we know? In Bereshit, Genesis 1:28 says, "Now Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply." What does Yosef mean? Or Yosef mean? Okay, increase, fruitful, things like that. Multiply, to replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowls of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. So keep this passage in mind when you're talking about Yosef. So Yosef is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well whose branches run over the wall. Excuse me. 49:26 says, the blessings of your father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitor unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Yosef or Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. Y'all remember how the two sticks? I wonder who's the two sticks. Okay. Right. So it's an Ephraim, which is also with Yosef, right? But you see, fruitful blessings, you're going to start seeing how theirs are going to start to come out later on when we get into this series here. A fruitful bowl by a spring echoes the trees bearing fruit in Eden that were watered by the source in the midst of the garden. The repeated mention of blessing in verses 25 and 26 also reflects the close placement of bless and bear fruit in Bereshit, Genesis 1:28. So we're going to see it's going to happen. Whatever was commanded in Eden, when he come out, he's still trying to get that going. Promised land is called Eden. You'll see Torah, talking about the tree of life. You're going to see all of this is going to keep repeating itself as you come out of the garden, because ultimately in Revelations, we're going to go back into the garden, right? Those who, okay. All right, we'll see that future. Targum. All right. So again, most of the Targums between the 1st to the 4th century. There are some that are to the 6th century CE. All right. So anyway, let's just read a little bit about what they say. For Genesis 49 or Bereshit 49:1, it says, "Then Yaakov and Jacob summoned his sons and said to them, be gathered, and I will tell you sealed secrets, the hidden times, the giving of the reward of the righteous, and the punishment of the wicked, and what is the tranquility of Eden. The 12 tribes were gathered together and surrounded the golden bed that our father Yaakov was lying in, after the end of being revealed to him, and the end of the blessings and the consolation was not told to them. After the secret time had been revealed to him, it was concealed from him. They were supposing that he would tell them the time of the deliverance and the consolation after it had been revealed to him." Which we talked about. Remember when Jacob had that encounter with the Jacob's ladder? There's a lot of that in there. But open up for him. The door was closed to him. Our father Yaakov and Jacob answered and blessed them, each according to his good deeds. He blessed them. All right. Targum Jonathan. He says, "Then Yaakov summoned his sons and said to them, be purified from uncleanness, and I will tell you sealed secrets, the hidden times, and the bestowal of the wages of the righteous and the punishment of the wicked. And what is the tranquility of Eden? The 12 tribes of Israel were together surrounding the golden bed on which he was lying, And when the esteem of the Shekinah, the esteem commonly called the glory of Yahuah, was revealed, the time that the King Mashiach or Messiah would come. It was concealed from him, and then he said, "Come, and I will tell you what will happen to you at the end of days or the latter days." Okay, they had a question? Okay. What's the question? Elijah has a question? Okay, Eliyahu. Did you want to text it or did you want to speak it? Okay.
Oh, I got it now. Why isn't Dan mentioned in the book of Revelations?
Right, we're going to get to why, because of what they've done. So that's what I said, when we get to the book of Revelation, we're going to see why, what happened well, we already know what happened, what Dan did, but when we get to all of the fullness of what Dan went wrong, that's why he was not a part of that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the history of what Dan did as far as cutting off Israel from going up to worship, and they wanted them to worship idols, and things got worse for them from there.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but I wanted to get your take on it.
Oh, no problem. Okay. All right. Targum Naphtali 49. Okay. So Yehuda, your brothers will praise, and all the Yehudim will be called by your name. How does that work? Simple. Your brothers. Who's the brothers? 12 tribes. Israel, okay, will be a praise, right? That's what his name also means, Yehuda. And all the Yehudim will be called by your name. Your hand will take retribution on your enemies. All the sons of your father will be the first to greet you, right? He says, I compare you, Yehuda, to a whelp, my son, to the whelp of a young lion. You were saved from the murder of my son, Yosef. You are innocent from the judgment of Tamar, my son. And you shall rest and dwell in the midst of battle like a lion and like a lioness. And there is no nation or kingdom that can stand against you. Verse 10. Kings shall not cease from those of the house of Yehuda, and also scribes teaching Torah or instructions from the children of his children, until the time when the King Mashiach comes, or Messiah comes, who is the kingdom, and to whom all the kingdoms will be subdued. Now, did you ever heard of where to be subdued? Did you hear that back in the garden? They're supposed to have dominion and subdue. All right, so you see, you got more stuff that's in the garden is going to come out. All right. Targum Naphtali 49, verse 11 says, how beautiful is King Mashiach or Messiah, who will rise up from those of the house of Yehuda. He will gird his loins and go out to battle against his enemies, and he will slaughter kings with rulers. He will redden the mountains from the blood of their slain, and he will whiten hills from the fat of their men. His clothes will be soiled from the blood, resembling a treader of grapes. Now, you remember I was sharing with you guys that you read a little bit of this in Revelations, but we haven't gotten there yet. 12, here comes your answer. How beautiful are the eyes of the King Mashiach, clearer than wine. The least he sees with them, the uncovering of nakedness or the treading of innocent blood with them. His teeth are cleaner than milk, least he eat food gained by violence and robbery with them. What does it mean? Remember, I asked you the question about what do you mean is why with not?
His teeth, his mouth is pure. His words are pure. He won't eat anything unclean or gained by ill-gotten gains. Like you can't bring the price of a whore into the tabernacle. He won't accept anything unclean.
Okay, so the things that are coming out of his mouth, the things that he's going to do, is the idiom in Genesis 49 was an idiom, and this is kind of filling out what that idiom possibly means. I'm only saying possibly because this is about the 2nd century understanding, right? Okay, So the mountains will be red from his vines and from the winepress of the wine, and the hills will be white from abundance of grain and flocks of sheep. Okay, so we'll see how that works when we get into Ezekiel. All right, so we'll keep going. Dead Sea Scrolls. The scepter shall not depart from the tribe of Yehuda while Yisrael has the dominion. Okay, there will not be cut off someone who sits on the throne of David or David, and the staff is the covenant of royalty. And the thousand of Israel are the standards until the Mashiach of righteousness comes, the branch of Daud. Anyone heard about the branch? Okay, the branch of Daud. So when we get into Isaiah and Jeremiah, we'll see some of these later. For to him and to his descendants has been given the covenant of the kingship of his people for everlasting generations, which he observed the law with the men of the community for, and then it goes on. All right, so everyone understands this part? All right. All right, comparing the text. Remember, I told you we're going to do comparing some text here. So we saw Bereshit or Genesis 49:10, where it says, these scepters shall not depart from Yehuda, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet until the tribute comes to him. To him shall be obedience of the people. So I put the scripture will be compared later on in the series, the scepter, the staff between his feet, all that stuff be compared. But look at Romans 1:4-5. It says, and was declared to be the son of Eloah in power, according to the Ruach of set apartness by his resurrection from the dead. And then it has Yahushua Mashiach, our Adon, through whom we have received favor and apostleship to bring about the obedience of faith for the sake of his name among all the nations. Can you see anything dealing with the obedience and the people in the nation? All right, so we're going to see later on that the mission that Adam was supposed to do, the mission that was given to them at Mount Sinai to be a nation of priests, the obedience. You're going to see in Isaiah where it talks about they're all going to come up to the mountain of Yahuah and they're going to learn how this law. We're going to see how these patterns are going to start going. And where was the garden? Was that also in a mountain? Yes, right? If you read, right, even in Ezekiel, it talks about the garden was in the mountain of Yahuah, right? All right. Are you guys putting these patterns together? I'm just curious. All right.
That's amazing. A lot of times I think people think the garden was in
the valley.
A valley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why they're all looking down. Well, where can we find it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was in the mountain. All right. So now, second place, we see what's the Hebrew word there? Ba'acharit hayamim. Right. Second place we see it is in Numbers 24:14. He says, and now behold, I am going to my people. Come, I will let you know what this people will do to your people in the latter days. So remember, we read the first one was here in Genesis 49:1. And Yahuah called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days or the latter days. So I said, we can see that there is a connection from the first mention to the second mention. The latter days is an ongoing future event. You're going to see these latter days keeps building and building. And as it builds, it gets stronger and stronger. And that's why it's called latter days versus the latter day. All right, comparing the text. Remember I said we talked about the crouching, right? We'll need to read that again. Now you read it in 24:9. It says he crouched. He laid down like a lion and like a lioness. Who aroused him up? Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. 49:10 says, the scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. 24:17 says, see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Yaakov and Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel or Yisrael. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth, or Seth, as it says in King James. Now, the scepter, wasn't the scepter here in Genesis Judah, right? And then it says right here, out of Israel. Is there a problem? No, because Judah is in Israel. Okay. I just gave some to you like to try to find some inconsistencies. I just want to make sure we're good.
I got
Yeah.
a question.
Ken.
What does it mean by they're going to break down the sons of Seth?
So Seth, their sons became very wicked. And so because of not only, of course, we know why Moab's, they became really wicked, but Seth's children became wicked. They became really bad. So from that, and then you got to say, well, which Seth? Not the one that's that died that we were thinking. I don't know if that's one you're thinking of, but there's another one which we'll talk about maybe in 3 weeks. I think so. But we'll talk about the sons of Seth, how bad they became. They were so bad with idolatry and some other stuff that's why they're going to be break down to all their sons as well.
Okay, I thought that was the son of Seth. That was the line of Noah.
Right. But how you'll see what happened when they broke off. Just like when they originally came out, let's say from Noah's time period, when they all came out, everybody went to their respective corners, if you will. And then what happens after that? Notice that wickedness started to come, evil, and you'll see just how evil they started to get. And that's why he had to make a covenant with Abraham and with his seed going forward. But we'll see how that works later.
Ta-da.
Ken. All right. 24:5 says, how good are your tents, O Yaakov, Jacob, and your tabernacle, O Israel, or Yashrael, or Israel? It says, as the valleys are the spread forth as gardens, okay, by the riversides and trees of aloes, which Yahuah has planted, and as the cedar trees beside the water, he shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. Now, I only put this in green just to share with you that there's a making of a garden, if you will, right? So we'll keep going. Verse 8 says, and Elohim brought him forth out of Mitzrayim, or Egypt. He has, as it were, the strength of a wild bull. Now, in the King James, it has a unicorn. Okay, so I don't know about no unicorns. Anyway, so he shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. 9 says, he crouched. He laid down like a lion and like a lioness. Who will arouse him up? Blessed are those who bless you. Cursed are those who curse you. Where do you hear that from? Huh? That's what he told Abraham. Everyone see how it keeps building and nothing changes. So he says, and for Abraham says, and I will bless them that bless you and curse him that curse you. And in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Okay. So you notice that the seed, what I want you for right now, what I want you to understand is his seed and all the families in the earth. Can you anyone put a picture together about a seed and a seed going into the earth? Now, this spiritual seed, meaning the people having the seed of the word of Elohim in them, and this earth, families of the earth are these people. He's trying to get that seed, the Father's seed, the word, inside those other families of the earth, so that that seed can be planted in those families, and thereby they produce the same seed. Is everyone with me so far? Okay, great. 24:7 again, comparing the text. He shall pour out the water on his bucket, and his seed shall be in the many waters, and the king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. Okay, we went over that. 24:17. We says, see him, but not now. Behold, but not near. A star shall come out of Yaakov and Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth. 19 says, out of Yaakov shall come he that shall have dominion and destroy him that remains of the city. Now, let's compare. 128 says, and Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. So again, you're going to see this seed. His seed shall be in, it says, many waters. So is this seed going to be swimming? What does it mean? Shall be in many waters.
Yeah,
Okay.
the waters are referred to nations.
Okay, so his seed is going to be in those. Now keep that in mind. And then you look at the green at the bottom. And he says, and he's going to replenish the earth. Again, that seed in that earth is very important, and it needs to have some water. All right, so and he subdue it and have dominion, which you'll see in 24:19. They said they shall have dominion. Notice in 28, in the garden, and they shall have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowls of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. Everyone's with me so far? All right. It's going to get a little crazier, right? So 3:15 says, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. Remember the seeds. Now the battle is going to be, the fight is going to be in the waters, in the earth. These seeds are going to be going and fighting one another. Is everyone with me so far? Okay. And it shall bruise or crush your head, and you shall bruise or crush his heel. Everyone's with me so far? Where have we read that before? Okay, let's look. First, I'll read here, right? It says, now the Akash, or the serpent, was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuah Elohim had made, right? Jump down to 49 about Dan. Dan shall be a Akash. Remember, he shall be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path, bite the horse's heel. Everyone sees the heel. All right. So that his rider falls backwards. You better be careful, because that seed can get even into the 12 tribes of Israel. Yeah, big time. Cause them to get a divorce and everything. So everyone sees that from the garden, this thing steady rolls. It keeps going. But he knows that in the end, there's going to be a remnant that's going to be willing to put aside all this wickedness and say, Father, we'll just do it. He knows this, that there's going to be a remnant that's willing to do this. All right, so we'll keep going. Numbers 18 says, and Edom, or Edom, shall be a possession, and Seir, or Seir, also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. All right, so everyone knows this is talking about who? Edom. Okay, it's highlighted for you just in case. Oh, yeah, I did say it in English. It's Edom. Hello, right? We good? Okay. Yeah. He's looking at the mark. He's looking at the accent mark on it. All right. Keep that in mind. Amos 9:11 says, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of Dawood that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Now, again, I'm trying to share with you that when you start, someone says David, and you get in Ezekiel, and talking about David, and some people thinking, well, David's returning. That's who they're talking about. I'm sharing that you might need to learn more about how someone carries a name. Doesn't mean that you're literally going to be that person. Okay. But anyway, we'll keep going. So it says, that has fallen close to the breaches thereof, and I will raise up him his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. And then it says, and they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the nation heathens, or the Gentiles, same word for heathen is the same word for Gentile, goyim, right? Which are called by my name, saith Yehuda, that does this. Where we read this at again? Acts says, and after this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after Yahuah. What's the purpose of this? Who are these men that's going to seek after Yahuah? Okay. All right. So we'll see just a minute. And all the Gentiles, or the heathens, if you will, since we're going to use that same word. Anyway, so upon whom my name is called, saith Yahuah. Same quote is from Amos, is here. Who does all these things? Know unto Eloah or Elohim are all his works, whom the beginning of this world. Now, the reason why I'm hesitant with heathen and Gentiles, because it's a translation thing. The word there in the Hebrew is just goyim. So some translations going to translate it as heathen. Some going to translate it as Gentiles. But it's just Gentile or nation. There are nations that's going to be acting like heathens, but they're still Gentiles, right?
Is that speaking of Edom right there? Is it direct? Because I'm looking at Amos 9 and 12, and it says that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all the heathen. And then at 15, that the residue of men, I would say that was also Edom and all the Gentiles. It's like a quote.
This is how I see it. I say that they is Israel, possess the remnant of Edom, and then the residue of men might seek after Yahuah. That would still be Israel, the remnant that's left.
So say when we get
Slick
here,
out more.
yeah.
At some point in time, I'm not sure where I read it, but I had read that Dan had actually kind of intermingled with Edom at some point in time. Is that?
You said, where'd you read it?
I can't remember exactly.
Oh, okay. Let me know when you get your address, and I'll go ahead and give you your answer.
Okay. All right.
And don't get me for this, but when you said lineage, when you're talking about David, it just reminded me of Yeshua because he's from that lineage.
Right.
Then when you said about the heel or the foot, what was it? I know
The heel,
scriptures, but right.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking Esau and Jacob.
Okay, because it shares the same name, right?
Edomite,
But
the
you would
Edom.
say, right, you would say it this way, like Yaakov, for an example, the cycle is from the garden to Esau and Jacob to sons of darkness. It's the same principle. It walks it out. But mind you, we're going to get to Acts. I'm just giving you something in advance just to share with you text comparison. All we're doing is comparing text right now. Then once we compare the text, then we're going to see what their prophecies say. Who are these people? Okay. All right. All right. So Numbers 24:17 says, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Yaakov, Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel or Israel. Yisrael, it shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down the sons of Shet. 2 Peter or Kephabet 1:19 says, we have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you do well that you take heed as unto a light that shines in a dark place unto the day dawn, and the day star arise in your hearts. Keep that in mind. Revelations 2:28 says, and I will give him the morning star. What does that mean? And then 22:16 says, I, Yahushua, have sent my malach or messenger, commonly called angel, to testify or witness unto you these things in the assemblies. I am the root and the offspring of Daud or David, and the bright and morning star. Okay, again, we're just seeing some comparisons so far, right? All right, keep that in mind. This is the Qumran. It says, the king is the assembly and the kinyun of the image. Images are the books of the prophet, whose words Yisrael or Israel despise, and the star is the interpreter of the law. Okay, obviously you can see it, Bereshit 49:10. It says, who will come to Damascus as is written, as it writer, which you'll see that in Numbers 24:17, a star moves out of Yaakov or Jacob, and a scepter rises out of Israel. The scepter is the prince of the whole congregation, and when he rises. So when we start talking about prince, we'll talk about what that means. And unless you want to take a stab at it now. He's on his way.
So I'm from my understanding, the prince is somebody that is different than Mashiach.
Okay, so is there such things as heavenly princes?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to see the difference between a king and a prince.
Okay.
There's a difference for that. Okay. So the whole congregation that rises and will destroy the sons of Shet. again, this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, talking about the same destruction of these sons. These will escape in the age of the first visitation, and their renegades will be delivered up to the sword. Thus will be the judgment of all those entering his covenant. Who's his covenant? Okay. But do not remain steadfast in these. Right. So some of us are a little wishy-washy. Sometimes we like the covenant when we like it. Sometimes we don't. We go in and out. Right. There's some endurance that has to take place. Okay. There's some steadfastness that has to take place. I'm not saying that some of us are injured or have been through some things or are trying to overcome some spiritual things, but I'm saying that there is a steadfastness and a endurance that must take place. So you must think that, do you believe that there's healing in the Father's word, that he can heal you? Is that possible? All right. So if we believe that, which we should, then sometimes, you know, a lot of people like to, let's just say they got 10 issues. I'll give it 10. They got 10 issues. They try to tackle all 10 at the same time. It's not going to work. You need to tackle each one at a time and be an overcomer at each one. If not, it'll overwhelm you. You get depressed, you go away. Then all of a sudden you kind of feel bad. Father, I feel like I left you. I'm coming back. You know, you need to tackle one at a time. Whatever one has the strongest stronghold on you, you need to get talking to that thing there. The other ones you need to try to bind and you know, but anyway, we'll be really going to a different direction here. Huh? Everyone's good? Oh, okay. Steadfast in these, they shall be visited unto destruction at the hand of Belial. Okay, this is, you know, which, anyway, this is the day which Elohim will appoint, as he says, the princes of Yehuda were. Okay. Targum Uncleos for Numbers 24:17. He says, I have seen him, but he is not here now. I have looked at him, but he is not near. When the king arises from Yaakov and Jacob, the Mashiach, or the Messiah of Israel, is anointed. He will slay the nobles of Moab, and he will rule over all mankind. Edom will become an inheritance, and Seir, or Seir, will become an inheritance to its enemies, and Israel will be successful in wealth. Then one will descend from the house of Yaakov Jacob and will destroy the deliverer from the city of the nations. Testament of Levi. When vengeance will have come upon them from Yahuah, the priesthood will lapse. What priesthood? Okay, Levitical priesthood, right? Not to say when it says lapse, it's not talking about it will be done away with. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yeah, it needs to be reestablished and restored and things like that. All right, so and then Yahuah will raise up a new priest to whom all the words of Yahuah will be revealed. So this new priest is going to have all the word, okay, of Yahuah. Okay. All right, and then it says, he shall effect the judgment of truth over the earth for many days, and his star shall rise in heaven like a king, kindling the light of knowledge as the day is illuminated by the sun. And he shall be extolled by the whole inhabited world. This one will shine forth like the sun in the earth. He shall take away all darkness from under the heaven, and there shall be peace in all the earth. Okay, that's 1803. Testament of Judah, Yehuda. He says, after this, there shall arise for you a star from Yaakov in peace. And a man shall arise from my posterity like the Son of Righteousness. Walking with the sons of men in gentleness and righteousness. Then it says, and in him will be found no sin. Okay, and the heavens will be opened upon him to pour out the Spirit as a blessing unto the Kadosh of the Kadosh Father. And what will happen? And he will pour the Spirit of favor on you. Okay. Then it says, and you shall be sons in truth. Now, I wonder if you can find all this in John. All right. And you will walk in his first and final decrees. This is the shoot of Elohim Most High. This is the fountain for the life of all humanity. Then he will illumine the scepter of my kingdom, whoever this person is that we believe it is, right? Okay. And from your root will arise the shoot. Now, anyone ever read anything about a shoot? Let's say in Isaiah chapter 11. Okay. And through it will arise the rod of righteousness for the nations to judge and to save some that call. Oh, I'm sorry. And to save all that call on Yahuah. Okay. All right. Well, you know, because some people, let me get past that slide. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. All right. Summary. So the same wording in Genesis 49:9 occurs in Numbers 24:9. He crouches, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion who dares rouses him. Number 2, the term scepter is used in Genesis 49:10 and in Numbers 24:17. Number 3, both Genesis and Numbers text identifies their respective prophecies to be about the latter days, which is going to be more as we do it next week. Number 4, Numbers 24:8, like Genesis 49, explicitly refers to the nations as Israel's enemy who are to be defeated. Number 5, just as the prophecy of Israel's future conqueror in Genesis 49 is directly linked to new creational imagery, which we'll see as we keep going. 6, the scepter is a prophetic link that has yet to happen. All older writings support that this to be talking about the Mashiach. This is why I'm sharing with you all of these writings that predate the Masoretic text that everyone's using now. In other words, these are during a time before the Mashiach comes on the scene, meaning in the flesh, and just after is where you're reading the Targums, you're reading the Testaments of Levi, things like that. It's in this time period. The Masoretic text, meaning the Tanakh that we have today, let's say in King James and some other ones, is when did they come about? You remember? Okay. 9th century, by 800 something AD. So these are predating that by almost 800 years, right? So that's what I'm just using this for now. For those that believe it, and for those that don't, it doesn't matter. You still can get that in the canonized version that we have. All right, number 7, the scepter is attached to the star and the lawgiver, which you're going to see how that works in the Brit Kaddish in the future. All right, any questions? Hello? Oh, Kulam Mevinim? Oh, Hakob Seder. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. If all hearts.
I had a question, Moreh.
A Hebrew question. It's on the Hebrew course. Go ahead.
Yeah. What does it mean? The star.
The staff.
The STAR.
Oh, the star.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the star. Is based, all right. So the kokav, or the kokav literally means that this star that's coming out is going to be similar to what I guess I'll use the definition of star for you first. Out of the trusty Strongs here really fast. Yeah, I'll just do it that way. It'd be easier. Yeah, I haven't used the Strongs in like forever. It was until I got some better books. And after that, it was a wrap. All right, so I'm gonna give you Brown Drivers Briggs definition. So it's a star of meaning Messiah, a progeny, omniscience, if you will. It says, then from the trusty Strongs, someone that's going to shine forth like a prince. Okay, so the same word for prince is the same word that the Melachims are called, but they're called that for a reason. So they're going to be someone that's going to shine forth like a star, or one that's going to be bearing light. Is realistically what it means.
Toda Moreh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Aboriginal Hebrew is asking, what response would you have for those who say that the bright and morning star is a reference to Lucifer, something that I've heard floating around?
Yeah. I would just tell them, if they look up the Hebrew word for Hallel, is not the same word for bright and morning star. Those two are not the same Hebrew words at all.
Hello, Moreh.
Ken?
The testimony of Jude, is that the same one that's in the scriptures?
No.
Okay.
No. You're thinking about the book of Jude?
Yeah.
No. This one here is the testament. It's an old version there.
So they're not related at all. Okay.
No.
Ta-da.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So we'll close, and then we'll shift over 16 or 6:30 to do the Hebrew class, and then after that we'll be breaking bread if we're still standing. Okay.
Let's clear all hearts and minds as we go before our Yahuah. Baruch atah Yahuah Eloheinu melech haolam. We come before you prostrate in our spirit, giving all esteem and honor unto your Kodesh name. We thank you for this time of gathering in which you have given us, and the word in which you have set forth before us through Moreh. We pray that your seed take root within our hearts, and let your Ruach wind blow through us as we spread it throughout the nations. We thank you for the understanding of the deeper mysteries in which you have revealed unto us here today. And we pray that our understanding continue to grow within you. We thank you for giving us safe travel and mercies here today. And we ask and pray that as we depart from this place, that you continue to set your Malachim before us, giving us the protection in which we need as we go to our various destinations. We ask and pray for all those who are in need, for you know what their needs are right now, of Yahuah. We ask and pray that you touch their hearts and their minds, comfort them in their time of need, and meet them where they are. We ask and pray over the blessings over all those who have shown here today, but also those who are online, who have taken their time to be able to come and hear your word. We thank you for the nourishment of our bodies in which we are about to receive, and we ask and pray that you bless the hands which have prepared it and continue to increase us in all ways. As it has been asked, let it be done according to you and your will, as we ask and pray these things of you in the name of your beloved Son, our King and High Priest, Yehoshua HaMashiach. Amen. Hallelujah.